Welcome, transfer students who wish to be chemistry majors at Clemson. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to a little bit about the department and point out some things about which you need to be aware as you are a chemistry major at Clemson. The last thing that we will do is discuss briefly what you need to do to prepare for registering for courses this fall at Clemson. The department consists of approximately 40 professors, some of whom are focused on research and some who are focused primarily on teaching. We've got between 130 and 150 undergraduate chemistry majors, which makes us really a medium-sized department in the university. Also, we have between 80 and 100 graduate students. We typically graduate the most PhDs of any department within the university. In terms of course enrollment for chemistry majors, it's not that large, but we do teach a lot of Clemson students who are not chemistry majors. So we have a large number of classes in both general chemistry and organic chemistry. I'm going to have the job of serving as your orientation advisor. So in addition to this video, you'll be meeting with me to discuss your course registration plan for the upcoming semester. Prior to the start of the next semester, you will be assigned to another advisor who will then be your advisor as you move towards graduation at Clemson. Your advisor can be found by looking at the proper spot on CU Navigate. You're interested in a career in the health professions, think med school or possibly dental school or PA school or any of the other type schools like that. In addition to your chemistry advisor, you will have a health professions advisor, and that individual is Ms. Harolyn Williams. There is additional information about her, which you can access in the advising modules. So you wind up with two advisors, one to help you graduate with your degree in chemistry and one whose goal is to put you in a position so that when you do graduate with your degree in chemistry, you're ready for the next step in your life, be it med school, dental school, or one of the other professional schools. Clemson's chemistry program offers two different degree paths to getting a degree in chemistry. One of these is the Bachelor of Science, the other is the Bachelor of Arts. The Bachelor of Science degree is the route that you want to follow if your goal is a job in chemistry or eventually attending graduate school. The Bachelor of Science gives you the deepest dive and the strongest foundation in the chemical sciences. Now, if you're thinking med school or some other professional school, particularly in the health area, the BA is an alternative that you consider. The BS will prepare you for those schools, but the BA also is an alternative. The advantage of the BA is it's a little broader, doesn't go as deep into some of the chemistry, but it does provide a broader foundation, and you take some courses in an area other than chemistry. And you do this by taking a minor. So the BA has a required minor that goes with it where you're taking courses in another area. In addition, the BA requires that 2 years of a foreign language. Curriculum maps for both the BS and the BA degrees can be found in the supporting documents that go along with this video. For both degrees, you require courses in chemistry. Of course, there's general chemistry is the foundational course, and we build from there. Courses in organic, courses in analytical, physical, and inorganic chemistries, as well as biochemistry. This really are the 5 key areas of chemistry. So you get some exposure to all of those. Additionally, both degrees require physics, 2 physics courses, and 3 math courses. The BS requires an additional math course, so you wind up with 4 math courses. Undergraduate research is required for the BS. You have to do 6 hours of undergraduate research. And this is an opportunity to identify a research professor who's doing work in an area of chemistry that you find interesting. The curriculum map shows research is starting in the senior year. However, we encourage students that are interested in research to actually get started earlier than that. Undergraduate research is not required for BA students, but is often it's useful to do some undergraduate research, as it looks good on your resume if you're thinking about med school or dental school. We do have a course what we call Introduction to Research, which is required for both degrees. So it sort of prepares you to begin to think about research. Even if you choose not to do research, you have an appreciation for what goes on in a research lab. So a little bit about the curriculum. So now let's shift gears and talk about the plan that we need to come up with for registration. And so these, when I say registration, this will be where we're enrolling in the courses that you're going to take this fall. And we're not going to do that immediately, but that's our long-term goal. One of the tools that we have when we work with transfer students in helping to identify the courses they're going to take in the fall is a tool called DegreeWorks. And you can access DegreeWorks by going to either iRoar or going through Navigate. And DegreeWorks looks a little bit similar to what I have pictured on this slide. There's student information, and that's at the top, gives you a little bit of information about your class, who your advisor is, what catalog year. DegreeWorks lists the courses that you're required to take for your particular major. Now, this one shows courses for a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. As you work through DegreeWorks, you'll get a little check mark that says that you have completed that requirement. Courses in progress, which of course you won't have any now because we haven't registered yet, will show the little blue squiggle like the courses at the bottom. And the courses that need to be taken or the requirements that have not been met are going to be shown with the open box. So we use DegreeWorks when we look at what you're bringing in as a transfer student. And we begin to fill in the gaps, and that will help us figure out what courses you need to take this fall. Now, in terms of the courses that you're going to need to take this fall, one of the first things that we're going to put on your schedule for the fall is CU 1000. This is a course that's required of all students in their first semester at Clemson. It's a 0 credit pass, no pass course. So it really doesn't help move you towards graduation, but it is important that you pass it. It doesn't look good on your transcript to have a no pass. It introduces you to some of the things that Clemson feels are important for all students to know about Clemson and the Clemson resources. The course is administered through Canvas, and a lot of the modules that make up this course are going to be delivered in an online mode. There may be some workshops that you'll need to attend, and you can schedule those around your class schedule. So CU 1000 doesn't have an actual meeting time, but it will need to be on your schedule, and you'll need to take care of all of the requirements in order to earn that pass grade. Now you're going to need to take chemistry. And right now I'm going to assume that you've taken general chemistry. If that's not the case, then we'll put either chemistry 1010 or chemistry 1020 on your schedule for the next semester. If you need to take organic chemistry, then I'm going to recommend that you're going to take, and this is first semester organic, you would be taking section 50. This is a majors section of organic that's set aside for chemistry majors only. The meeting time, it meets 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and starts at 11:15, and this class concludes around 12:05. So 3 50-minute lectures each week. You may or may not need to use the common exam time, which is set aside for organic. That time will be blocked off on your schedule, so you can't schedule any courses on Monday nights. A common exam is an exam that everyone in the course takes at the same time. Chemistry uses common exams, math uses common exams, physics uses common exams. That first semester organic chemistry needs to be accompanied by organic lab, which would be CH 2270. If you don't need organic 1, we'll look at what other options are depending on what you're bringing in. Typical courses for chemistry majors might include quantitative analysis, and there's a lab that goes with that. There's a 2-hour lab for the BS chemistry majors and a 1-hour lab for the BA majors. Physical chemistry and the lab that goes along with it. Inorganic chemistry is another course that a lot of chemistry majors will take. And of course, we talked a little bit about introduction to research. Which courses you need to be in will depend on what you're bringing in terms of transfer credit. Now for math, you've got to have, if you're going BA, you're going to need to take 4 math courses. Depending on which courses, what credit you're transferring is which math you'll start in, whether it's Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, or possibly the 4th math course, and there's some options for that. We have 3 different options that you can take for the 4th math course if you're a BS degree. If you're going with the BA, you don't need that 4th math. Now, with the BS, both the BS and the BA, Physics 1 and the Physics 1 lab are required. With the BA, you don't need the Physics 2 lab. You do need it with the BS. We have a technical requirement, which is a science course, which isn't math, chemistry, or physics. And we have several options. There's general biology, which would be biology 1030 and biology 1050. A lot of our majors will take this. Other options are computer science. And there's really 2 intro to computer science courses that are possible for the technical requirement. And then of course, geology is the 3rd technical requirement. There's a lab that goes along with that. So if you're not bringing in credit that can be used to meet the technical requirement, then you're going to need to take a technical requirement course. We'd like to get that out of the way pretty quickly. Of course, as with a lot of schools, Clemson has some general education requirements. And again, depending on what courses you're going to transfer in is to what general education courses you're going to need to take. You've got to take 2 in the area of arts and humanities. One is a non-literature course, one is a literature course. You have to have 2 courses in the area of social science, and they have to be from 2 different social sciences. Can't be from the same one. And then new to Clemson this fall are some courses that are termed global challenge courses, where you're looking at problems on a global basis and issues that affect us globally. These, you cannot use transfer credit to satisfy these. This is something we can talk about in your individual advising sessions. As I've said previously, DegreeWorks is the tool that works best in to help identifying how your transfer courses meet Clemson requirements for your chemistry degree. So your next step is to schedule an advising appointment, and you can do that through CU Navigate. I'll send you a follow-up email with a Zoom invitation for an individual advising meeting. Prior to that meeting, you're going to need to look over DegreeWorks and the curriculum map for either the BA or the BS, and think about what courses you need to take this fall. Of course, I will do the same, and I will have some options for you, and I'll tell you what I think if you tell me what you think, and then we'll look at the next step, which will be registering for classes.